Good morning, Year 6, and welcome to a new week of our learning journey. Now, last week we started our new learning journey, and we came up with our new learning journey question, and that was how does light reflect off different surfaces and enable us to see? So we started off by looking at different light sources, didn't we? And we listed all those different sources of light, where light comes from. And then we looked at actually how does light travels, and we learned that it travels in straight lines and it can't bend, and that if it hits certain surfaces, it either becomes absorbed or reflects. And then we looked at actually, well, if light does reflect towards us, what does the eye do to help me see? So, and then we looked at the eye, didn't we, on Friday, and how that enables us to see. Now, today we're going to start looking at reflection. And we're going to look at how reflection enables us to see. So, here is our learning question for today. Can I learn how light reflects off objects to our eyes? Because often, off many objects, light reflects differently. It can be absorbed by certain objects. It can reflect and bounce off objects, which is the majority of objects, or it can go into our eyes, which again absorbs the light or goes into our eyes, doesn't it? And that's what we learned on Friday. So to begin with, we're going to watch this short video.
Welcome to the Grand Light Stream Derby. Any moment now, yes, we're off. The light waves are instantly streaming away at an incredible speed. The amazing thing is that they will carry on going forever, unless they bump into something, but there's certainly plenty for them to bump into here. And here comes the first obstacle. It's a mirror. Shouldn't be a problem. A mirror is very reflective. That means, of course, that the light just bounces straight off it. And there they go. What a bounce. They've all just bounced straight off. No problems there, but they're coming up to the next obstacle. It's a black wall. Definitely a black wall. The colour black is not very reflective. I think it's going to be more tricky. Oh, and there it goes. A lot of them have been absorbed. They're gone. Some have kept going, but there are not so many left now. But of course, they're not slowing down and they're not stopping. That's just not what light does. It looks like they're approaching something else, and they've gone. Unbelievable. They've gone into that eye, and I think that's it. They're not coming back.
Okay, so we looked at that mirror there, at that thing there, and we saw that actually light can reflect off lots of surfaces, like a mirror, like um, like a black wall. Although some of the black wall absorbed some of the light, didn't it? And then the light that was left actually went into eyes. So sometimes light does reflect, and when it does reflect, it always reflects off the surface at the same angle as it comes into contact. And that's what we're going to learn about today. Because actually here on my diagram, we can see this beam of light. And this beam of light is shining towards our object. And it's going off at our object at a certain angle, isn't it? And you can see this angle here. This is the size of the angle just here. And I'm going to mark that for you just so you can see what I'm talking about. So that's the size of the angle just there, because it bounces off and it hits our object at that angle. So that's probably about 25 degrees. And that angle is called the angle of incidence. So our light comes and hits the object at the angle of incidence because it's going at this certain angle here. And then it reflects. And it reflects off the object at the same angle that it came into contact with it. So this angle here is exactly the same as this angle up here, and it's called the angle of reflection. And the angle of reflection is always, as it says, equal to the angle of incidence. So the angle of incidence is the angle that the light beams onto an object, and the angle of reflection is the light that beams away from the object, or the light that reflects off the object. So this is what reflection looks like when objects come into contact with light. We have two angles created. The light shines, it flows along, and it hits an object, and that is called the angle of incidence. That is, the angle of incidence is when the ray of light that comes into the contact with the surface. This one here going along. And then bouncing off at the same angle, the exact same angle, is the angle of reflection, and that's the line that has bounced off the object at the same angle. And what I want you to do today, to really see that you've understood the difference between the angle of incidence and the angle of reflection, we're going to draw a diagram. And what we want to do is we want to draw a diagram showing how light reflects. You must label it with both the angle of incidence and the angle of reflection, and also the different parts of the diagram with a short description. So for example, up here, you'd label this as your light source. Light source sending a beam of light in a straight line. Then you'd label this as your object. Object which the light reflects off. And then you've obviously labelled the angle of incidence, the ray of light going towards the object, and the angle of reflection, the ray of light bouncing off the object. And they both have the same angle, don't they? They both have the same angle, because it says here the angle of reflection is always the same as the angle of incidence. The angles are the same. So I want you to create the same diagram in your book. I want you to draw a diagram showing me the angle of incidence, the angle of reflection, and how reflection in light works. When things do reflect off lights, that's how we see, because light reflects off those objects, and often after that reflection, it goes into our eyes, and we learn then how the eyes process those images and send them to our brain. So I want you to go away, have a go at drawing your diagram, and then post your work to Class Dojo. Good luck.